Hello, my name is Jeremy Litwinowitz, and I'm from part of the training team at Decisions. And today we're going to take a look at how to create rules in Decisions. So I'm going to go to this folder here, and I'm going to hit this Create Rule button. Now, there's a lot of different types of rules you can create. So you can create truth tables, matrix rules, rule sets, which is a large set of many different rules. There's formulas. We're just going to create a basic statement rule to kind of demonstrate how the rule designer looks. And then we'll talk about some of the other things that you can use when you're setting up your rules. So I'm going to create this rule here, and this is what the rule designer is going to look like. You'll notice it's a little bit different from the flow designer in that there's not a lot of shifting and moving like you can with the flow steps, but you'll see there's an if-then statement, because typically rules will be if something happens, then it's going to return true, and if that thing doesn't happen, it's going to return false. But there's a lot of other options we can use to configure and set things up in here. You'll also notice a lot of similarities between the rule designer here and the flow designer in that you have these options up across the top, like save, checkpoint, compare, undo and redo, as well as the debugger to test your rule. You can also set up input data if you want to take any information to be coming into this rule to start. And I'm going to add just a couple things here just to demonstrate some of the different options that we'll have when we're setting this up. So I'm going to create a string input, an integer input, and a date input here, just as different options. And I'm going to change the data types to match these so that we've got a string input, an integer input that's integer, and a date input that's a date time. This is mostly just to show that there's various options that you have once you start selecting inputs to build in your processes with rules. Once you have what you're looking for expected inputs, in the middle on this if statement is where you start to actually build out your rules. So the data element is saying which data element from my inputs do I want to start using. Flow data is something that's always available in all flows and all inputs to anything. It's just information related to initiating or starting users and things like that. And then we have all the inputs that we set. So if I pick string input, for example, and I hit next, it's now going to load up a number of verbs that I could use to assess this input on. So it's saying, okay, now I want to check my string input and I want to check it against various verbs. And these verbs will change depending on the data type of this input. There's a number of common verbs. These ones you'll find on all rule items, no matter what the data type is. And then everything else below that are specific to the data type. So since I have a string of text, there's a number of string related rules here. So I can check character items like whether they're numeric or symbols or letters, length to see how long that item is, list rules if I want to check if things are in a list or different things like that. There's regex rules in case I want to check that, and then a number of things like if the string contains or equals something or starts with a letter. So you could easily set that up. And then once you hit next, you'll be able to see this. It looks very similar to the flow inputs where I can set constant data and just type something, or if I want to check if it equals something else that also comes from my flow, I can use flow data or any other number of things I can choose from here. So let's say I just want to check if a string equals the word cat. I can easily type that, and now that's what my rule is going to check. If the string is cat, it's going to return true. If not, it's going to return false. You can also add more conditions to this. You can add either or groups. So if you're familiar with the logical concepts of if this or this is true, then you can set that up. If you add other conditions, it'll use the and verb in between them or the and contraction in between them to say, okay, if this equals cat and this next one is true, then it'll have to run true. And those are just kind of logical concepts. You'll also notice if you pick integer, for example, you'll have a number of other verbs related to numbers, numbers between or greater than or less than. If I pick the date input one, and look at the verb options that I have here, it'll be the same thing. After days, between days, greater than days, different things like that. So there are a lot of options to choose from with these. And I can easily remove things if I add the things in the wrong space. I can also copy them or paste them. I can even make them a not condition to say string does not equal cat. For example, if I want to right click that and make it a not or remove the not condition. One final quick thing you can use if you want to mess with things is you can also actually have these things do more stuff than just output true or false. You can have these output new data or even add something to a list or change values and change text. So there's a lot of options you can do when you're configuring a rule in decisions.